Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt completely lost when someone speaks English too fast? Like you're trying to listen, but the words just fly by? Or maybe you wanted to say something in English, but the words got stuck and nothing came out? I know that feeling. I've been there. There was a time when I couldn't speak even one full sentence in English. I had a strong accent, limited vocabulary, and every time I spoke, I translated from my language into broken English. People couldn't understand me. It was frustrating, even embarrassing. But today, something changed. People think I'm a native speaker. They ask me, "Where did you learn to speak like that?" The answer is simple but powerful. I found a way, and today I'm going to share it with you. So, if you're just starting out, or if you've been stuck at the same level for years, don't worry. I'm going to walk you through the exact steps I took to go from zero to fluent English. Stay with me until the end, because what I'll show you today could change everything. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Broken English Beginning. When I was 20 years old, I could understand a little bit of English, but not much. I had a few words in my head, maybe a couple of phrases, but when I tried to speak, I always had to think in my language first, then translate, then say it out loud. And even when I said it, it didn't sound right. My grammar was broken, my accent was thick, and the worst part, people didn't understand me. They would squint, lean forward, or just nod politely without really knowing what I was saying. It was frustrating. It felt like being stuck in a glass box. I could see the world, but I couldn't be part of it. And then one day, something hit me hard. I was sitting on the subway train, thinking about my future. I asked myself, what kind of job could I ever get if I can only speak broken English? I looked around and realized, this is America. Everything here runs on English. If you can't speak it clearly, your chances shrink. Not just a little, but a lot. That thought made me feel stuck. Really stuck. Like I had no control over my life. But then something happened. One night, I saw an advertisement on TV. It was for a man called Fluent English Mr. Wang. He promised something incredible. If you were starting from zero and took private lessons with him for just 1 year, your English would be better than someone who studied English for 10 years. That sounded too good to be true. I was curious. I wondered, what does he teach? What's his method? But there was one big problem. His lessons were private, one-on-one, and they were $30 an hour. At that time, $30 an hour was a lot of money, too much for me. I didn't even bother calling him. I thought, even if I did, he wouldn't tell me his secrets anyway. Still, something inside me had changed. That ad gave me a spark. It made me think, if he can find a way to teach people to speak fluent English, then I can find a way too. That moment was my turning point. I didn't have money, but I had time, and I had a public library just a few blocks away. So, I made a decision. I'll find my own way to become fluent. I started by checking out English books from the library, but not just any books. I was careful. I picked only books that were written by native speakers. I told myself, if I want to sound native, I should learn from natives. I didn't care that I didn't understand half the words. Every time I came across a new word, I looked it up in a dictionary. Sometimes I had to read a sentence 5 times just to understand it. But I didn't give up. That first trip to the library where I picked my first few books, that was the beginning of everything. I didn't know it yet, but I had just taken my first step toward fluent English. It wasn't easy. I didn't suddenly become fluent. But I was no longer just hoping to learn English. I was doing something. I was taking action. And trust me, that makes a huge difference. The desire to change had finally turned into a decision. And that decision led me to the library, where I started learning in a new way, a smarter way. I was still at 0, but now I had momentum. That's where the journey began. Chapter 2. The Book Strategy That Failed. After that first trip to the library, I was excited. I thought I had found the path. I believed that if I just kept reading books written by native English speakers, my English would get better and better. So I kept going. Week after week, I went back to the library. I borrowed more books. I read every free minute I had, on the train, during lunch breaks, before bed. Most of the books were about how to learn English, and all of them said the same things. Listen more. Read more. Build your vocabulary. Think in English. Practice, practice, practice. So I followed their advice. I listened. I read. I tried to use what I learned. I made vocabulary lists. I repeated common phrases. I even spoke to myself in English when no one was around. But something strange happened. Even after reading 10, 20, 30 books, my speaking didn't improve. Sure, I understood more words. My reading was better. But when it came to speaking, I was still slow. I still translated in my head. I still had a heavy accent. People still had trouble understanding me. And I thought to myself, why? Why am I working so hard, doing everything the books say, and still not getting results? By the time I reached my 60th book, I finally saw the truth. All these books written by native English speakers were saying the same things over and over. They sounded smart. They looked official. But they didn't work for me. That was a hard moment. I felt like I had wasted so much time. I had followed the rules, trusted the experts, and still, my English was not fluent. That feeling of hope slowly turned into frustration. I remember sitting alone with a book in my hand and thinking, maybe I'll never speak good English. But something inside me said, don't give up yet. Try something different. So I did. Instead of reading more books written by native speakers, I asked myself, who else became fluent in English? Who else started from 0 just like me and made it to fluency? That's when I looked for books written by non-native speakers who had already succeeded, people who had the same struggle I had and found a way. I found 10 books, and what I read in those 10 books changed everything. At first, I thought I'd find something completely new. But no, those 10 authors repeated most of the same advice. Listen more, read more, build vocabulary, think in English. It felt like more of the same, until I saw one idea that stopped me cold. It was just one sentence, but it hit me like lightning. Repeat what you hear again and again. That's it. That one sentence had never appeared in any of the 60 books written by native speakers, not even once. And I thought, wait, why didn't anyone tell me this before? The idea was simple. Don't just listen. Don't just read. Don't just understand. Repeat what you hear again and again. Say it. Say it again. Then again, until it feels natural, until your mouth learns the shape of the words, until you can say it without thinking. That made sense to me. I remembered how I learned songs as a kid. I didn't study the lyrics. I sang them. I repeated them. That's how they stuck. I had never tried that with English. That one insight gave me new hope. And from that moment, I stopped reading. I stopped making lists. I stopped doing what didn't work. I made a decision to try this one thing, just this one strategy. Repeat what you hear again and again. It became the first building block of something I would later call my Fluent English formula. And once I started using that strategy, everything changed. Chapter 3. The Subway Strategy. After I discovered that one key idea, repeat what you hear again and again, I was excited. I had finally found something different, something that felt real. But then I asked myself, when can I do it? I had no private lessons, no special teacher, no perfect schedule. I worked every day. My life was busy, but I had one thing: a long commute. At the time, I was living in the Brooklyn area of New York City. Every morning I had to walk to the train station, then take the subway into Manhattan. In total, a round trip took me almost 2 hours every day. 12 minutes walking to the station, 40 minutes on the train, 5 minutes walking to work. The same thing on the way back. Almost 2 hours. That commute, that routine I once hated, suddenly became my secret training ground. I had a Walkman. You remember those? A little cassette player with headphones. And that Walkman became my English coach. At first, I listened to NPR, National Public Radio. It was fast, too fast for me, but I listened anyway. I didn't catch everything. Sometimes I didn't understand half of it, but I kept listening and listening. Then I had another idea. Why not record the news at night and use that recording the next day? So that's what I did. Every evening, I recorded an hour of the news onto a cassette tape. The next morning, I played that tape on my way to work. At first, I just listened. Then I whispered along. Then slowly, I started speaking along. And guess what? The subway trains were loud, like thunder. Nobody could hear me. I didn't feel embarrassed. I could speak as much as I wanted. That noisy train became the perfect classroom because nobody was listening and nobody cared. I practiced every morning and every evening. On the train, on the platform, while walking, I repeated what I heard. Sometimes I couldn't say a word or phrase correctly. So I rewound the tape. Listened again, tried again, still couldn't say it. Rewind again, listen again, repeat again. I didn't care how many times it took, 10 times, 20 times. I kept going until I could say the word or phrase the right way. It was hard. Some days I was tired. Some days I didn't want to do it. But I reminded myself, This is your chance. This is your time. Use it. One step at a time, I got better. At first, I could only say a few words correctly, then short phrases, then full sentences. Day by day, I began to feel different. My mouth was moving faster. The words were smoother. I could feel my English changing, not just in my head, but in my mouth, in my voice. And that's when I realized something powerful. This wasn't about talent. This was about training. I wasn't born with good English. I built it. Every train ride became a workout. Every word I repeated was one more repetition, one more step forward. And here's the most amazing part. I didn't need a classroom. I didn't need a teacher. I just needed time I already had, and a way to use it better. That's the power of using your lost time. We all have some of it. On the bus, in the car, doing dishes, walking alone. It might not seem like much, but if you use it every day, over time, it becomes powerful. By the end of the first few weeks, I wasn't just understanding English. I was speaking it. Not fluently, not yet, but clearly. Yes. And that was a big win. This strategy, repeating what you hear during time that most people waste, was the key that started to unlock my fluency. And I wasn't going to stop there. Chapter 4. The Big Breakthrough. 3 months into my routine, every day practicing on the subway, repeating what I heard, speaking louder, rewinding and repeating again, I decided to test myself. I wanted to know, is this actually working? Am I just repeating words or am I really improving? So I tried something simple. I took a few everyday English phrases, wrote them down on a piece of paper, and recorded myself speaking them. I still remember that moment clearly, just me, my Walkman, and my voice. When I played it back, I was expecting the same old thing: broken sentences, thick accent, choppy words. But what I heard surprised me. I could actually speak. My words were clear, my voice sounded confident, my accent was still there, but it was lighter, softer. The flow was better. I could hear it myself, and that made me stop and smile. Something was happening. Not long after that, one of my friends called me on the phone. We talked for a few minutes, and then suddenly he said, "Wait, what did you do? I'm confused." "What do you mean?" He said, "Your English. It's good." And I could tell from his voice, he wasn't just being polite. He was truly impressed. That one comment gave me a boost. It gave me energy. And then it happened again. 2 of my cousins, both native English speakers, asked me, "How come your English is so good, but your brothers and sisters aren't?" At that moment, I knew I was on the right track, but I also knew I could do even better. So, I changed my strategy again. Instead of listening to a new tape every day, I made a small but powerful change. I started using the same tape for an entire week. Yes, 1 hour of recorded news or conversation from native speakers, and I listened to it, repeated it, and practiced with it for 7 straight days. At first, I thought I'd get bored, but something strange happened. Every time I listened, I heard something new. A word I didn't notice before, a phrase I hadn't understood, a rhythm that was slightly different, a tone that I hadn't copied correctly. So I focused on mastering everything on that one tape. Not just the words, but the tone, the rhythm, the music of the language. And by the end of that week, I could speak everything on that tape clearly, smoothly, almost like a native. I did that again the next week, then the next. After 1 month, I had mastered 4 full 60-minute tapes. 4 hours of native English, completely learned, practiced, and spoken by me. And I wasn't just memorizing. I could recite it. I could feel the English. My tongue, my lips, my whole mouth had learned the movement of natural English speaking. It was no longer just in my head. It was now in my muscle memory. And I realized something very important. Fluent English isn't about how much you know. It's about how well you can use what you know. That's the breakthrough most learners miss. They keep learning new words, new grammar, new lessons, but never master anything. They move fast, but never go deep. But when you repeat the same English every day, when you master it, something happens inside you. You stop translating. You stop hesitating. You start speaking with confidence. And people notice. That was the moment my English truly began to transform. It wasn't just practice anymore. It was progress, and real fluency was now within reach. Chapter 5. Fluent English Formula. From nervous whispers to fluent conversations. From feeling stuck to making real progress. But how did it happen? Was it luck? A special gift? A magic method? Number. It was something better, something repeatable. What I discovered, what I created, was a simple method that worked for me, and I believe it can work for you too. I call it my Fluent English Formula. It has just 3 steps. 1. Set your goal. 2. Take action. 3. Follow through. That's it. It may sound simple, but don't let that fool you. These 3 steps changed my life. Let me break it down. Step 1. Set your goal. This is where everything begins. And I'm not talking about just thinking, I want to learn English. I mean making a real decision. Do you know where the word decide comes from? It comes from Latin. It means to cut off. When you decide to do something, you cut off every other option. No more maybe, no more someday. You lock in. You say, this is what I want. I'm going to get it. Period. That's what I did. When I was 20, I looked at my life, my limited vocabulary, my thick accent, the way people couldn't understand me. And I asked myself, what kind of future can I have if I speak broken English? The answer was clear, not much. So I made a decision, a deep one, a real one. I decided, I will speak English fluently, not halfway, not just good enough. Fluent, like a native. That was my target. That was the mark I aimed for. And once I made that decision, my focus became sharp. My brain knew where to go. My time, my energy, my effort, it all went in one direction. Because when your goal is clear, your actions become clear too. Step 2. Take actio. You've set your target. Now it's time to shoot your arrow. This is the part most people skip. They read, they dream, they wish, but they don't do. But listen, it's not what you can do, It's what you will do. I had a degree in information technology. I had big dreams. I lived in New York City. I could do a lot of things, but if I didn't take action, none of that potential would matter. So I acted. Every day I brought my Walkman. Every night I recorded the news. Every train ride, I practiced. I rewound. I repeated. I trained my voice. I trained my ear. I trained my brain. I didn't do it once in a while. I did it every single day. Rain, snow, tired, busy. I kept going, and that's the key. Not talent, not perfect English, just consistent action. Even when I didn't have private lessons, even when I didn't have money, I still took action. And little by little, that action built my fluency. Step 3. Follow through. This is the glue that holds everything together. You can set a goal. You can take action for a few days. But what happens next week, next month? The people who succeed are the ones who follow through. It means you don't stop after 3 days. You don't quit when it's hard. You don't look for something easier. You stay with it. When I started repeating tapes, I didn't stop at 1. I kept going. I didn't just listen. I mastered them. I followed through. I practiced not just the words, but the tone, the rhythm, the flow. I practiced until my English sounded like music. And by doing that, I trained my entire body to speak fluently. This is what makes the formula powerful. Set a clear goal. Take real action. Follow through until it's done. That's how I went from zero English to fluent. And if I can do it, so can you. Chapter 6. Open Throat and 100% Native Fluency. Let me tell you something that changed everything. By this point, my English was fluent. People understood me. My friends noticed the difference. My cousins were shocked. I had confidence. But I wasn't done yet. Because even though my words were clear, there was still something missing. My voice didn't have the full energy, the full sound. Sometimes I still sounded unsure, even though I was sure. One day, I discovered the answer. I called it open throat. Here's what it means. Chapter 6. Open Throat and 100% Native Fluency. Continued. Most people speak English from their mouth, from their nose, from their throat. But it's tight, like they're holding back. But if you want to sound native, if you want your words to have power, you need to open your throat and speak from your diaphragm. That means you speak with the full energy from your stomach. Let the air flow through your lungs. Open your throat. And when you talk, feel your stomach tighten. That's your power source. That's your support. You should feel your voice coming from deep inside your body, not just your mouth. When you do that, your voice becomes full, natural, and confident. At first, I didn't even know I was doing it. But when I compared my early recordings with my later ones, I noticed a big difference. My voice wasn't just clearer, it was stronger, richer, native-like. Later, something amazing happened. My daughter joined her school chorus. One day she came home and said, "Dad, the teacher said we need to sing with our throats open." I laughed. That was the exact same strategy I had discovered, without even knowing it was something singers are taught too. The teacher told the class, Don't sing with a chicken throat. You know what that means? It means speaking or singing with a tight, nervous voice, a voice that's afraid, weak, quiet. And suddenly I thought, that's what a lot of English learners are doing. They speak with a chicken throat. Why? Because they're scared. Because they think they'll make mistakes. Because they think people will laugh. Let me tell you something from my heart. You're learning a foreign language. Mistakes are normal. Native speakers don't laugh at you because you make mistakes. They respect you because you're trying. So stop being afraid. Open your throat. Speak from your stomach. Let the air move freely. Talk with energy. Even if you're wrong, speak anyway. That's how I reached the final level. That's how I spoke in front of a class full of American students and shocked my son's teacher. She looked at me before I started and thought, oh no, this man probably can't speak English well. But when I opened my mouth, when I read the story with full energy and a native voice, her face changed. I saw her eyes open wide. Her mouth dropped a little. Then she smiled. By the end of the reading, she was snapping pictures, asking me to come back, putting me in the newsletter. That's what happens when your fluency surprises people. That's what happens when your English sounds native. And it wasn't because I was born with it. It wasn't because I took expensive lessons. It was because I repeated what I heard. I trained my voice, I opened my throat, and I never stopped practicing. You can do the same. If this story inspired you, if you want to speak English fluently, don't just watch. Take action. Start today. Use my formula. 1. Set your goal. 2. Take action. 3. Follow through. And speak with an open throat. You can do it. I believe in you. If this video helped you, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment below. Tell me your story, tell me where you're starting from, and tell me how I can help. Let's build your fluency together. If you've watched until now, I want to thank you. You're serious about improving your English, and that means something. You're ready to make the change. And that's where it all begins. Now it's your turn. Use my fluent English formula. Start today. Set your goal. Take action. Follow through. If you're ready to go beyond just watching and actually start improving, hit that subscribe button right now. I'll be sharing more real strategies, tips, and motivation to help you take your English from 0 to fluent. Click like if you found this video helpful and drop a comment to tell me where you're starting from. Whether it's 0 words or just a few broken sentences, I'm here to support you and cheer for you every step of the way. See you in the next video.